Hi everyone, my name is Basanti and I'm back with another Asan story. I like them very much and I think they really help us in our practice, not just as we're practicing the asanas, knowing what the stories behind them are, but also off the mat. What can we learn from them in our life? Because as we know, yoga does not just happen on the mat, it's in our whole life that we want to incorporate yoga and the yogic values. So today I want to talk about Nataraj Asan or Nataraja Asan. Actually, the Sanskrit would be Nat Raj. Nath is the dancer, and Raj is the king. Often it's translated as Lord of the dance, but could be the king of dancers. And this king is not just anyone; is actually a god. We're back to Shiva. If you watch lots of these videos, then Shiva will be very familiar to you, and you will know that Shiva is considered a spirit before he meets and unites with Shakti. So if Shakti is the worldly power, Shiva is the spirit, the hermit who sits and meditates in the mountains, leading an ascetic lifestyle. And it's only through Parvati, through Shakti, that he moves from his stillness into the world of the living. So that movement, or the stillness to movement, is a journey from Shiva to Shakti, essentially. So for Shiva, there is no space or time, no form, no name. And when he comes into contact with the world of Shakti, then all of this is the case. And there is a story around a group of ascetic living people who performed rituals, and with them, not even understanding their true purpose, became leaders of the world, had this great power over the world. And they saw Shiva as a threat, but he also knew that they did not understand the true power of what they were doing. So they wanted to get rid of him, especially because he was walking around naked, and all the wives were like, "Oh!" And so they decided that they would, through chanting different mantras again that they didn't quite understand, would conjure up different beings to overpower Shiva. And these were a tiger, a serpent, and a demon. Now, Shiva had no problem destroying these and did so very swiftly. And this is why often you see Nataraj with these three, with the tiger, with the serpent around him, and with the demon that he's dancing on. But he's also starting in this dance to move his fingers a certain way. And it becomes clear that through the way that he moves his fingers, he is communicating. And what he is communicating is the wisdom of the Vedas. And the wisdom of the Vedas is that we do not indulge in our hunger in whichever shape or form it comes, or give in to our fear. It is about overcoming these, not living with them. And that is back to Shiva and the meditating Shiva in the mountains, who does not live in this world. So this is why through the Vedas we can get knowledge and wisdom, and we don't even, they say, need to read the Vedas. We can look very closely at Nataraj to receive that wisdom through the dance. And I think that's quite a significant point to make about India in general, and how important it was to have oral tradition and visual language rather than writing things down. And that's still the case. So when Nataraj is dancing and moving his hands and his foot, and he's doing it in a certain way, there is Abhaya Mudra, where he's sort of pushing his hand, as I'm doing right now, towards away from himself, to say, "Be not afraid, don't look at my dancing foot, look at the stillness of my other foot." The other foot representing the soul that is never born, hence can never die. And that soul is standing on the demon. And this demon, this is what I wanted to come back to, is the demon of illusion, wrong memory, delusion, wrong memory, false memory, all these things that we don't need in our life, that have accumulated over time through experience, through decades that we have here on earth, and that we have to shed in order to go back to what we truly are. So back to the soul and away from ignorance. You might also see this ring of fire around a statue or a picture of Nataraj or Shiva. And this ring of fire represents rebirth. So that whole cycle of samsara. And through this story, through this asana, we essentially get that wisdom of everything that we need to know about this continuous cycle and our life on earth. And it's so significant that this dance inspired Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, they say. There's actually 3 Patanjalis in the history. So it's hard to make out because so little is written down. And one last thing I want to say, which I really love, and that goes back to this oral and visual tradition as well, is that in yogic philosophy, something that is written down exists in space, and something that is said out loud exists in time. But when it's conveyed through the medium of dance, it exists in space and time. And this idea also speaks of uniqueness because no single dance can ever be the same as another one. And no single asana can ever be the same as another one, whether of other people or whether you practice it. It changes from one moment to the next. It changes from one day to the next. So this idea is indicative of how we should embrace the current moment, because no moment is ever going to be the same as the next one or the one before either. That's all about Natarajasana, I think. Afterwards, I'm going to think, oh, I should have said that as well. But yeah, let me know if you have any questions, put them in the comments box. And I hope you enjoyed this little video. I will see you very soon for another practice.